Hey Plasma Nerds, today I'll be sharing the much awaited review of the Moshen Michelangelo airbrush. I shared this airbrush on my Facebook page and on my blog a couple weeks ago, and I finally have my review sample. So let's take a look. Alright, so the Michelangelo airbrush from Moshen is a relatively new product. I've only seen this pop up on some feeds in the past month. Comes in a nice, very professional looking box, although with a lot of typos there. Moshen Airbrush System with an N. Also, this was marked 0.2 millimeter, but they changed it to 0.3. So yeah, nice looking box. A little, I think it's a bit of a rip off from Tamiya's boxes, but they do have the balsa wood case. Look there, very nice, and like a cigar box. And inside, nicely padded. It's got a extra foam there on top, and here's the airbrush. Add a bit more light here. Get a better look at that. And you get the airbrush itself, the plastic hose adapter, which comes with a lot of Chinese airbrushes, the nice crown cap, and strangely a nozzle wrench, and I'll show you why we won't be needing that. So here's the airbrush. Nicely polished chrome on the main body, gold on the back here, bit of metal burrs here on the cutout for the needle lug, but you know, for a cheap airbrush, finish looks pretty good. And you get the removable cup. I believe this is 7cc, and the design is very similar to what you get with the Harder and Steenbeck Evolution, I guess. So this cup, a bit tight on the lid here. So let's screw that. Ah, there we go. Good polish. No scratches or tooling marks in there. Cup lid is a little tight. I have to force that in there. Bit heavy too. And it does have a rubber washer here to prevent paint from spilling out. I'm not sure of the material of that, so we'll have to see if how that withstands lacquer type paint or solvent based paint. The back here, so your standard handle with the adjustable limiter. It's not on any kind of spring or tensioner. It's just freewheeling there. And of course you have your needle nut and spring tension adjust. Trigger feels a little stiff and a little, so you can hear that, rough, but I'll treat that to some super lube and we'll see if that improves. The body says Moshen Michelangelo MS 1003 0.3. Now everything from this part all the way to the back is pretty much standard, what you get with a regular Chinese airbrush. But the interesting feature about this one is, actually let me pull back the needle here. Interesting about this airbrush is that the nozzle design is actually very similar to what you get with the Harder and Steenbeck Evolution. So it's got a self-centering nozzle. Try to pull that out. As you can see, very similar in design to Harder and Steenbeck. It has this washer on the back. It looks like it's Teflon. Feels slippery to the touch. Although with the Harder and Steenbeck Infinity, I've never had the washer pull off like this. So we'll have to see how well that holds. That holds paint. And you can also unscrew the protective cap here and replace that with the crown cap, which I actually prefer. Lets you get much closer to your to the surface. Easier to clean too, easier to detect tip dry. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but as there are channels machined into the sides here. Point to those. So there's one, there's two, there's three channels, and that's the same as what we have in the Infinity's nozzle, where the air is directed through these channels, comes out of that one hole there on the bottom, the smaller hole, and is directed through these channels all the way up to the tip where it meets the needle. So that's that. Like I said, this thing is really useless. You don't really need this for this airbrush because you have the self-centering nozzle design. So let's load it up with paint. Let's test it out. Alright, so I've cleaned it up. I've added a bit of lube and I've loaded it up with some Mr. Color lacquer, thin to about 30-70 ratio, a little thin because this is a 0.3mm airbrush. It'll require a bit more thinning than your standard 0.5mm Chinese airbrush. So let's test it out. Nice and smooth. Atomizes quite nice. Let's see if we can make a finer line. Trigger's a bit sensitive, but yeah, once you get a hang of it, you can make pretty thin lines. Not pencil thin. Of course, you can cheat with the needle limiter. Dial that in. Get a more consistent line width. Yeah. let's see how it does in coverage. Yeah, so because I've got the paint thinned down a little bit more, it's taking a while to actually get coverage. But yeah, it atomizes the paint really nicely. Still no tip dry there so far. Not bad. I'd say it's about on par in performance with the Master G233. Also similar in weight and feel on the trigger. Hair is a bit stiff, can't really do much control on the air there, but yeah, once I've lubed that up, trigger pull is pretty smooth. So yeah, Moshen Michelangelo Airbrush 0.3mm nozzle. It comes with self-centering nozzle, similar to Harder and Steenbeck design, so it's really easy to clean, really easy to take apart. You won't have to worry about breaking the nozzle there. I'm still looking into alternative needle setups for this airbrush. Also, I need to find out if the standard 0.3, the generic 0.3 needle for the Chinese airbrush works in this one. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching.